Hey, Lord of the Rings fans. So we are back once again. Yes, we are back. This time is it's a bit of a strange episode. This episode was supposed to happen years ago. We were supposed to finish this episode months and months ago. Just got caught up in ourselves, and we have a wonderful guest back with us. But before we get to her, we are going to introduce ourselves like always. Welcome to Voices of Arda. I am your host, KnewBettaDoBetta, and the main host, the main event, the president. I don't know, the star of the show, KaliCosplay, is here with me, hosting along with me. What's up, Kali? What's going on? How you
Hey,
doing?
New Better. Good to be back. Very happy to be resuming this and getting ourselves back on schedule. Very excited.
Yes, yes. This is
Yes.
2 weeks in a row, y'all.
Yeah. Woo!
Give ourselves a round of applause. Give ourselves a round of applause. We are back. This is season 2. This episode we're about to do is actually bleeding over from season 1. It was like the last episode. Is this the last episode we did, or the second to
This
last?
this
Something
is
like
where
that.
we left off. So if
This is where we
you're
left off.
wondering where to start this episode, it is the one right before our previous episode, which was our welcome back. So if you need to, you can go back and listen to the first episode of Sons of Fëanor with Lee, and then we
Yes.
will be here again finishing up the second part.
And as she said, I was about to introduce our guest, the phenomenal, the English, the wonderful Silmarilleanne, aka
Woo!
Lee. What's up, Lee? What's going on? Welcome back.
It's good to be back. It's good to finally be doing this. I know we scheduled a few times and then it fell through each time, but we did it. We're doing it.
We set
We're finally back.
scheduled. We scheduled a few
Scheduled.
times, but I'll never stop laughing at that. I'll never stop laughing at that. Lee is a Lord of the Rings expert, phenomenal, like just a lore purist is amazing the depths of knowledge that she has. Somebody that I actually like literally I enjoy her content so much. So if you are not following Lee, let them know where they can find you at on all social medias and platforms.
I am on TikTok as Silmarilleanne. Um, I'm also on Instagram as celestial_wanderer for cosplay stuff. Not that I've done any for ages, but I'm trying to get back into that. So yeah, you can find me there. And then I'm on Twitter, but I can't remember what my
She's on Twitter. I'm gonna
Twitter.
tease her. I'm gonna tease her. She's on Twitter. All right, guys. So we have her in the building. Let's utilize our time wisely. Last time we ran into some time restraints. Typically, our episodes are about an hour, and I didn't
Yes.
want to take away from the conversation about the three C's. The three C's. We're not trying to sell you nothing here, folks. We are talking about the seven sons of Fëanor, and we got through Mithros and Maglor.
The good
Now, we
ones.
like
Yeah.
Mithros and Maglor, even
Yeah.
though they did some
We
bad
do.
deeds, but these three C's are irredeemable. And it's going to be a
Kinda, yeah.
vast, deep conversation about these jokers here. So
Oh,
let's
hey, you
start
said the
things
word
off.
joke. Speaking of which,
You are good. You've gotten so good. You've gotten so good. It's like walking into the street and getting hit by a bus. I don't even like it'd be really catching me off. I'd be forgetting all about this joke. I
I'm
forget
trying
all
to
about
forget
this joke.
about it.
I'm not even actively thinking about this joke. And she is like waiting, and
I'm
she's
on
like
it.
double dutch. She's like,
She's
Um,
on
like,
the
pow.
ball.
She's like, I'm in there. All right, you know what? Get your joke off. Let's
all
go.
right.
Let's make this thing happen.
What do snowmen do in the carrot aisle?
Have a
They
good
pick their
sniff.
noses.
I knew it was gonna be something about snowman and noses because Frosty the Snowman has a carrot nose. Yo, I was on that one. I was on that one. You saw my brain working like, yo, I
It was.
see.
So
I
I
was
had
like,
to get my
yo,
punchline in
something with
there
them nose. I was
before.
about to say stick their nose in there or something. I was gonna say something like that. You know what I'm saying? All right, okay. All right, I'm
All
gonna give
right,
you that
all
one
right.
because all right.
All right, this Joker is done. Her bit for
I
this.
like it was a nice seasonal
Yo,
joke as well.
I'm gonna give you last two jokes you said. I was feeling them. I like them.
Oh,
You're stepping
oh,
your joke game up. It's coming out of the realm and category of dad jokes.
Oh,
to,
okay.
I don't know, I don't know the next realm of joking.
The
But
level
it's out of
up
the dad
after
realm.
dad jokes.
You're
Okay.
leveling up. High
Okay.
school
That
lunch
is high
table
praise.
type,
High praise.
high school lunch table type joke. You know what I mean?
This is
So
too high of an expectation, and I don't think I'm gonna try to keep meeting it.
no, you can't fall off now. Don't fall off now. But you keep surprising me though. You are something. You're like a ninja. You sneaky
Yes.
in there. So Lee, what's up? I know you're dying to talk about the Seven Sons. I know. I
Yes,
know.
yes.
I left on a
Mm.
cliffhanger. The three C's. If you guys aren't familiar with the Seven Sons of Fëanor, Lee, can you fill us in on their names?
Just Cinderin names, right? I've got to restrain myself.
Oh yes,
The
please.
ones that people will
Yeah.
recognize first.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so the seven sons of Fëanor are Maedhros, Maglor, Pelegorm, Peranthea, Curufin, Amrod, and Amras.
Seven sons, seven sons. We talked about two of them. We also stated Amrod and Amros. We are literally just not going to talk about them because they do
Poor guys get forgotten.
There's not
nothing.
that much to say.
There's not much
Poor
to say.
Amberasa.
They're the twins. They hunt sometimes and they follow their brothers. That
Yeah.
is
And
literally
they did have a region that they ruled over,
yeah.
Thargelian, I think. And
It
they had
was a left of Thargelian. It was just like under Estelad. Uh
yeah,
under Estelad
Oh,
above
yes, it did.
because
in
it was where Caranthea advised Haleth to go and live, but
yeah.
she wanted to go and be her own thing,
Yeah, so it's
understandably.
just west of Estolad. Like I mean, it's just west of Thargelian, but it's I guess technically still
Mm,
Thargelian a little bit.
yeah,
Because Thargelian is definitely Caranthea's land.
Caranthea, yeah.
But they're brothers, so they probably shared land a little bit, but they don't do anything. That's the point.
They were just sort of also there.
They were just there. So, but we have these guys do a hell of a lot. They
Yeah,
are what's that
very
say?
involved.
Am I the drama? They are the drama. They are the drama. Even more so than Maglor and Mithros, because
Mm,
it's kind of like reactionary with them. They also do good things. These guys don't do no good things, with the exception of one kind of has a noble moment, I think, quickly, which we'll get into. But so
mm.
out of these three brothers, let's hear your description, because I love your expertise on the Seven Sons. She is just so precise with the Seven Sons. So tell me about the three C's and their, because each son of Fëanor has like their own niche with life. Like they have their own
Yeah,
swag, they have their own thing that they're good at, they have their own attitude, they're just they're very like drawn out in that way.
yeah. So the oldest of the three C's and the third oldest overall was Celegorm. And he was called Celegorm the Fair, and he actually had silver hair, which was probably inherited from his grandmother Muriel Thyrende. So I said it right, Thyrende. And his thing was very much he was like a hunter, a tracker. He was a friend of animals. He could actually speak to animals. In Valinor, he spent a lot of time with Orome, who was the god of the hunt. It was Orome that basically gifted him Huan, the hound, who was a magical hound of Valinor, who
Hold
it
on, you
was
gotta
said would
say, Callie
speak.
said he was the what?
He
Huan
was
was
the
the,
goodest
you
boy.
can't talk about
The
Huan
goodest
without saying
boy
the
in
good
all of
stuff.
Arda. Yes, we love
So
Huan.
yes, so he was the owner of Huan, which was gifted to him from a Valar named
I
Orome, who was the Valar of the hunt.
Yeah, so and also yeah, he learned to speak to animals. Um and yeah, that was very much his thing. He was a tracker, a hunter, at one with nature kind of person. After him was Taranthea, who his main thing seemed to be that he got angry
He
easily.
was angry. He
Like
was an angry guy.
even his names in Quenya kind of hinted at that, but he had the darkest hair of all of them, like black raven hair, and a
Mhm.
ruddy face. But yeah, he tended to get angry the most, and his thing as well was like being good with money. Like he was the economical one.
Huh.
He wasn't as bad as the other two and thinks he did at all. It's like kind of feel bad that he gets lumped in with the other C's as much
He
as he
has
does
a
because he wasn't on their level.
he wasn't on their level, but he had a nasty mouth. He was
He did have a
nasty.
nasty mouth. Yeah,
He so this is why he kind of gets lumped in because
yeah.
that'll get you like he talks a little spicy, a little extra spicy to
Ooh.
people.
Doesn't
And
think before he speaks, and
yeah, he doesn't
it
think before he
caused
speaks, and
issues.
it's weird because people were more scared of him than the other two as far as they were like, yo, he's nasty. He's a nasty guy. Like, yo, like be careful when we're talking to him. He's that one.
But
So
like
even
he
though
was
the others do.
more bark than bite,
Yeah,
whereas
more
He'd
bark than
do it
bite.
to your face, whereas the other ones would
yeah,
go
they
around
would
your
scheme
back
behind.
and
They would knife in the back.
Knife in the back,
And then
sneaky. Ugh.
yeah, then there was Kurufin, and he was he was looked upon almost as like a mini Fëanor. He was said to be like the spitting image of Fëanor. Literally, his mother name Atarinke means little father because he was so much like Fëanor. And Fëanor, the name Fëanor gave him was the same as Fëanor's father name. Like they were both Curufinwe, which means
Oh.
skilled Finwë. And like his father, he was into smithing and crafted and all that stuff too. He was like I can't remember if it's just Fanon or Karen, but like the true heir of Fëanor because he was so much like Fëanor, which he then in turn
Thorfinn the
passed on to his
Crafty.
son.
Yeah, which
Curufin the
is
Crafty.
Hmm.
another thing about Corfin, if we're not mistaken, he's the only one to have a child out of the seven.
Yes.
Oh.
Yep, he is.
So
Seven sons, but only one child
Grandchild.
from seven
Oh.
of them. Yeah.
the Feanorian line extends through him.
Yep.
It's a lot of
Celebrimbor is
responsibility.
his son. And then it ended with Celebrimbor,
Celebrimbor, unfortunately,
Caffeine
which
Yeah,
Chat.
I guess,
spoiler
right, yeah.
alert. But as we were saying, each of them had their own attributes and traits. But check
Mm.
out their traits. Feanor is extremely gifted at building and smithing, and Corfin extremely gifted at crafting and mining and building, and boom, then Celebrimbor, like that line right there, boom,
Ah.
like it's crazy. They all got a little bit of their attitude from their father because they are all. But it is said that Amrod and Amros kind of had their mom's attitude, if I'm not
And
mistaken.
Maglord as
Yeah.
well.
Oh yeah, Maglor
Inherited
is
more of
yeah.
yeah,
Maglor
were
and Maglor also was a follower. Those three are always the ones that like, but they kind of do it anyway.
yeah.
So it's crazy.
Which is
So
why it was difficult. Like when Maedhros was hanging around on Sangarodrim, the acting king of the Noldor was Maglor, and he was like out of his depth there.
yeah, not much is said, but let's see. The first time we actually encounter, I ain't gonna say encounter, but actually there's some action from one of the seven sons, one of the three C's of the seven sons. I think it's when is it Kelagorm who notices the is it Kelagorm who notices the orcs coming up from the south that beleaguered Círdan?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh.
And he so they're smart.
Yeah.
They're very military savvy, even though these are their first battles. They were enough to say, hey, there's reinforcements coming up, let's cut them off. Remember, the seven sons are the ones that they don't actually go ahead of the host like Feanor. They pull Feanor out of the fray. So they're
Mm.
good warriors. So the three C's are very good fighters as well. They're good warriors, and like I said, yeah, if I believe it's Kelagorm. Don't quote me because I don't have the text in front of me. Even though I could pull it out right now, but I believe it's Kelagorm. Notices, hey, there's a contingent of orcs coming from the south during the second battle, the battle on the stars, and he cuts them off, and they end up getting wiped out. So that's when we first see them, and then our next experience with them, if I'm not mistaken, is now we get into the unpleasantries because prior to this we've talked to Mythros and we've talked to Maglor and we've seen them do stuff, and they hadn't actually done nothing really bad beside take the oath, which really them just taking the oath isn't bad. That's something any of us probably would have done with our father. You know, you love your father, you love your
you
grandfather.
get it, like they were just sort of caught up in the
Caught up
moment
in
and
it.
weren't thinking it. The only thing I will give them right is Celebrimbor didn't swear the oath.
Yes.
And I don't know, I just like to imagine that there was some part of Cuddlefin who knew this was gonna be iffy, and he was like, "No, no, you're not swearing it."
Yeah,
But,
don't
like,
do
I
it.
just
Just let us.
no, 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 kid, you're not swearing it.
So
'Cause there's
the
gotta be
next
a reason that
time we talk
Celebrimbor
to them,
didn't, right?
That would change the story if he had. Wow.
I think he was just, I
Yeah.
don't know. It would. But well, that's a whole episode in itself.
Things that could have happened.
Yeah, yeah.
That would be a
So now
wild
we
Damn.
have
season.
now we have the 7 sons in Beleriand. And
Ooh.
now they have just arrived and they're princes of the Noldor. And they're in a land that they're not familiar with, and it's not theirs. It belongs to Elu Thingol of the Sindar. He's the king, and he proclaims he's, you know, which he is. He's the king of Beleriand, and you know, they send messages back and forth, and Thingol's like, hey, you guys are welcome here, but you can't live nowhere where my guys are. Like, that's not fair. Like, you can't displace my people. Like, so, and beware how you carry yourself. Remember, I'm the Lord of this land. And they do not like that. This is where you see the nastiness. And by all rights, like, who are you to come to their land and just start taking land? Like, so I understand Thingol, even though Thingol's a bit of a is not the nicest person at this time either.
Yeah.
But he's not saying something crazy. He's actually like, yo, don't displace my people. Like, you coming out of nowhere. Like, this is not, that's not cool. And
This is
watch how you
also the
carry yourself.
reason why Eol hated the Noldor, was
Yeah.
because of them doing this. And you know, there's virtually nothing to ever defend Eol on. But you know, on that, yeah, you kind of understand why you didn't like them coming in and settling in the land and stuff.
So if Amrod, is it Amrod? Is Amrod, I think, is the messenger that's going back and forth. Thingol is his great uncle, and Amrod or Amrod's one of them.
No,
Not Amrod.
they're Feanorians.
Angrod.
Angrod.
Sorry, Angrod. The names are so familiar. Angrod.
Yeah.
Angrod is the one, if I'm not mistaken. Angrod is the messenger back and forth, and so they're his cousins, and they all came over together, and he's like, "Yeah, Thingol said this," and Lee, I'm gonna let you tell how nasty this. I wanted to punch him when he said this.
Yeah, I can't remember the line, but the key thing is that it's Caranthea refers to Thingol very derisively as the Dark Elf. And basically, in a that dark elf can't tell us what to do kind of thing. Now, if you bear in mind that just being a dark elf doesn't generally have negative connotations, like it's not a pejorative, but he makes it one.
They make it.
He uses it like
They
he
make it
is
one.
looking down on the Moraquende because they are Moraquende.
And then he says
Specifically
something
Thingol.
unforgivable. He starts talking about Angrod's mom. He literally says, though you may be of other kin, like, and even Mythros has to stop him and calm him down. And it's like, yo, you're out of line. You're out of line.
Oh my gosh.
Because
he's like, remember, even though your mother may be from other kin, your father is a lord of the Noldor. Like, and he's saying it like with disgust. Like it's like
you're not pure Noldor.
He's like, your mom's bogus. Your mom's a Teleriel. She's like remember, the Teleri are the weakest of the 3. They're not considered like on the same level as the Noldor. Even like, if you think about it, Sauron and Morgoth, they both choose to ignore the Teleriels. Both times. It says that Morgoth, in his thought process, he's like, the Vanguard didn't want nothing to do with him. He didn't even try. And then he was like, the Sindar and the Teleri are too weak. He doesn't even want to deal with them. So he focuses on the Noldor. Sauron, the same thing. He literally just was like, yeah, I'm gonna Aragion and try Linden, even though Linden wouldn't permit him. But the Sindar was too weak for his, like, he didn't want them really like that. Like, the Sindar elves or the Teleri elves just are more simplistic in a certain sense and not as powerful. And
I think as well, because of the Noldor had that that keenness to learn and
Yeah.
attain knowledge and create things.
Mm.
Yeah.
That was very much something that Morgoth and then Sauron could exploit.
No.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, it's basically like a little, I feel like there's a little racism going on here.
Yeah,
It's a
Yeah,
little
there's
racism going
yeah.
on. Personally, that's how I
it's
felt. Like
almost
When
it
like
you're
feels
attacking
nasty.
a bloodline, that's pretty
yeah, it's
personal.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Bloody hell,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's like he's saying, even though you're only a half breed Noldor
Yeah,
sort of
like
thing. That is
remember
brutal,
your
man.
father is a
Mm.
lord of the Noldor. And it says that Mithros yelled at him and berated him like, yo, that's chill. And then you see
Quite
the
right
goodness
too.
in Mithros when he does that. Because Mithros also was talking spicy, but Mithros was talking spicy fairly in a
Mm.
sort of way. He's like, who is Thingol to tell us that, like, if you wouldn't even be king if we didn't come help you, which is he's looking at it like, yo, we wiped those orcs out that had y'all on the run a little bit, like that had Círdan and them on the run, like, calm down, which is a fair observation as opposed to your mother.
Yeah,
Your mother,
yeah,
your
Yeah.
mother. And
Different
in school, we would
tones.
have been. If you
yeah.
say anything about my mother, it's on and popping. It ain't no nothing to talk about. It ain't no yo.
Yeah.
I don't know. Listen, I grew up in the '80s
You
and the
don't do
'90s.
it, your mama. No, you just don't.
Unless you was like my best friend, mama jokes is off the table. So we can't be getting in no different type of argument or nothing like this. And you say something about my mother, I'm going in your mouth. I'll knock you out. You know what I'm saying? So I understood.
Well,
You
that
know what
part
I'm
of the
saying?
story really resonated with you. I can see. Yeah.
Angra was tight. He was tight about that. You know what I'm saying? And I appreciated Mithros for checking his brother. So this is the beginnings. You see the assholeness of Caranthir. He got that mouth. He got that mouth on him.
Mm.
And other people don't like them. They don't like them.
Okay.
Every time something comes up, and Thingol hadn't even knew them like that. He was like, yeah, I heard about them. I don't like what I'm hearing.
Mm.
How and Melian even says, and you've never seen Melian say nothing bad. She says, what's wrong with them? What's wrong with the seven sons of Fëanor? Why are they so haughty and so fell? Like, what's wrong with them? She's asking Galadriel, like, what's wrong with your cousins? Yo, they wilding. So that's crazy. When has Melian ever not been a display of beauty and grace and loveliness and wisdom, but that nobody listens to? So
Yeah.
we go on, and it just compounds. It just dog piles. So Lee, I'll let you get into what goes on with the seven sons, the three C's, Celegorm, Caranthir, and Curufin.
So the seven sons split across Beleriand. They have their own little areas. For a while anyway. Aragorn, well, they all of them, but particularly Aragorn and Curufin, do get caught up in the aftermath of the Dagor Bragolach, where they actually, I can't remember if it's in the Silmarillion, if it's in another part, but they actually do a good thing where they have, because by this point Finron's settled in Nargothrond, and it's your favorite Orodreth who is ruling Tolsirion.
Yep.
And Celegorm and Curufin, as they're fleeing from their own lands, stop by Tolsirion and actually help save Orodreth and the elves of Tolsirion, and then they together head to Nargothrond.
Yeah, that's in another. Yep, that's in another.
I was like,
Yeah, that's not Silmarillion, but
yeah, that's not part of the Silmarillion. Yeah. Okay, so there's
but
something
they,
redeeming.
they did do that. But yeah.
Do you think
And the
they did
whole
that to curry favor in Nargothrond because of their position that they gained?
maybe, but I don't think they would just have abandoned the elves there to die if they could help. Like, I know they're bad, but
Yeah, this
I
is
don't think
true.
they're quite that bad.
Yep.
But yeah, it probably didn't, it would have helped in Nargothrond when they got there, and Orodreth's like, yeah, they saved me. So then they're like, they're heroes in Nargothrond. It's definitely going to help their cause. And yeah, so they got to Nargothrond, and Finrod allowed them to stay. because they're his cousins and he has a cinnamon roll. Um, things started to get iffy and started really coming to a head when Eren turned up
Yeah. They
in
were Gucci before
Norgothrond.
that. They were
Yeah.
Gucci before that. That
So,
this game curse kicked in. The oath.
Beren just Beren came to Norgothrond to get Finrod's help because Finrod had earlier basically sworn to Beren's father Badahir after Badahir had saved Finrod's life. He'd give him the ring of Badahir, the ring that Aragorn has with the snakes on, and said, like, if you need me, come and get me. I owe you a life debt. So Beren, who had now been given the quest to get the Silmaril by Thingol, decided to cash in. So he went to Norgothrond to get help from Finrod. And this was where Pelegorm and Corufin kind of turned on Finrod. And Corufin, who apparently also did inherit some of the oratory skill of his father, because he basically balked most of Norgothrond out of helping Finrod. Like, he
And for
scared them
fighting
so
in
Right.
open battle for
yeah,
years
just
after.
basically, yeah, like he absolutely terrified them with his words, but it meant that only 10 people went with Finrod. I mean, regardless of how many went with him, it was a suicide run anyway, but
Yeah.
I just like cemented it, and it was the fact that Celegorm and Corufin turned on him like that.
And it said they gained a great power in the realm. So these aren't,
Yeah,
even though they're nasty individuals, they have swag. They're of the eldest line of Finway's line. They are the elder princes. So they have a position, even though they lost the kingship, they still carry that weight of, hey, we're the eldest
yeah, they're
grandchildren.
still the
Like
royal
a lot of
family.
influence,
We're the
right?
royal,
Yeah.
we're the royal princes, and we're of the eldest line because Fëanor is the eldest. So they have that and weight with them. They have their skills. They have their auditory skills, like Lee was saying. And there's something about them, and many of the people turn in Nargothrond and just follow them, and they gain a great power in their realm. And then they extend that when they start talking about, hey man, don't go into open battle. This will happen. They says they scare them for years afterwards about what happens, and then they say a speech, because I love that Finrod didn't just willy nilly just take up the mission without telling Baron, hey man, chill. Like, he tells Baron, and he sticks to his own. This is how dope Finrod is. Finrod is like, oh yeah, like Baron, like, yo, I know who you is. I know your pops. Y'all don't even need to ring the, you good. He's like, yo, but yo, listen, be careful talking about this, because Celegorm and Corfin is here. This is kind of betraying his family by telling Baron this. He's like, yo, they're here. If they hear that you're going after the Silmaril, this is going to get crazy. He says, damn, I feel like the oath is crept into, like, I feel like the oath is crept into here. He said, but my oath, I got to keep to it. Regardless of that, I got to keep to my oath. And and it's crazy. He looks at his own people and they won't help him because of it. He's like, oh, this is how y'all doing me? Is there anybody that will come with me? And 10 people go, like Lee says, go with them. So Celegorm and Corfin, they are no joke. They usurped the whole kingdom from underneath. I said Ordreth and Finrod. Finrod a little bit different because of him leaving and what he had to do. So it kind of falls on Ordreth a little more, because Ordreth could have sent help and did things but we're not going to get into that. But they're powerful. Basically, they're not just, oh, I'm evil. I'm just evil for the sake of being evil. I don't have
Yeah,
any
that's
scheme.
fair. That's fair. Yeah.
They have they have reasoning. The Silmaril, I understand it, but the things they do next is a lot much.
Yeah.
But they are skilled. They are very skilled people at what they do. They're crafty, absolutely, and Celegorm's skill set comes into play coming up. So they're no joke. Everything about them comes into play throughout the story. So they're not just like, oh, Corfin's this way, and then you never hear it, and Celegorm's hunting, all of that shit comes into play and has a major part in the story. And it's because of this is how they meet Luthien and everything, because Celegorm is a hunter. They're out hunting the wolves of Sauron that they see, like, oh shit, it's mad wolves in the forest. Like, what's going on? And it all comes into play. So I think that's dope. One thing I want to backtrack and talk about, because prior to this, it just explains the seven sons being in the east and guarding East Beleriand, which is great, which is noble. They take the brunt force of the attacks first. It's easier to get in the East Beleriand than it is in the West Beleriand.
Yeah.
West Beleriand is guarded by Iflum in the pass of and Tol Sirian. It's very thin, narrow, and between two mountain ranges. It's much harder to get through there. East Beleriand is open. It's only low-lying hills, with Himring being the tallest of those, and the rest is loft land, and the rest is easy. Thargelian is open land. Lake Helleborn is there. It's easy. So they are willing to take on Mithros, really willing to take on the brunt of the attack. Mithros and Maglor
Yeah.
are
Like
getting
Mithros is on the and Maglor are on the front line. So
right
you've got
in the
the
front
March of
lines.
Mithros and Maglor's Gap, which are like are the two places between the mountains where forces from Angband will come down. They are right on the front line, and then kind of
There's a
staggered
pass.
behind them. So like
Yeah,
in almost like in age order. So Amrad and Amras is the youngest, are like furthest down. Like they're still protecting them because they're still the babies.
the babies, they're all the way at the bottom. Nobody's really going
Yeah.
there, but there's a pass that you can get through called Aglon and literally Celegorm and Corfin guard that pass. You could sneak past Himring and get to that through that pass and enter Beleriand. So they have a great deal of horses there, and they protect that pass, which is very noble of them in their own right. And I think that's noble. I want to speak about things that they do that is cool. But one
Absolutely.
thing that they do, and it's not it's Caranthir. Caranthir has the largest land of all of them, Thargelian, and it's right next to Mount Dolmed and the Dwarf Road, and they traffic between the two. They run in each other, and they have the most. They have a relationship, because the dwarves have to pass through his land, so all the riches that they get, they barter back. Like he gets the first pickings of it and everything, and they deal with each other. And it says that Caranthir's nasty ass scarce hid his scorn for the unloveliness of the Naugrim, which are the dwarves.
Yeah.
What a jerk. He's dealing with them, but he scarce hid, and his people followed him too, and his people were like that too. Like, but their business was so much more pressing that they just ignored it. Like it's giving old time, like
Yeah.
cowboys and Native American type shit, where you're on these people land and you're like, or you're dealing with these people and you don't like them and you're calling them names, but you know it's going to profit you, so you're trading with them and doing that, but you're calling them names at the same time. That's scumbaggery right there. Like that's very much how Caranthir was, and it's that he seldom hid his scorn for them, and that's just terrible. It's terrible. So it's one of the things about Caranthir that I did not like, but he does have a redeeming thing that he does. So we talked about Celegorm and Corfin. They have no redeeming qualities except for like little tiny things. Caranthir has a changes of heart, very Thingol-esque, where there is a group of men at this time that live on his land, and they're called the Haladin, and they get into like a battle basically, and are besieged for like 10 days. And there's a lady named Haleth, that her father was the head of that group, and she ends up, he dies and her brother dies, so she ends up in a leadership position and holds them all for 10 days, and until Caranthir finally comes down with his force and wipes the orcs out and drives them off. And he is so like impressed that this human female did this, and because they didn't have permission to live on his land, that he was so impressed, and he was like, it said he changed his position on how he felt about men, and he was like, yo, hey, if you want to live here, you can live here under our protection. And he offered them that you can live in Thargelian, because he was really impressed with that. And this wasn't the time of the Mithros's union. They didn't need the men to be like, he literally just was like impressed, like, and it said his heart changed toward them. I think that's really noble, that he did that. Like he's willing to change. He's willing to like, oh, because they didn't necessarily know about the humans and fuck with him like that at that time. And he really just was like, yo, I really think that's dope that y'all did that. You could live under
Yeah,
our
he was
protection.
genuinely impressed with them.
Genuinely impressed. I think that shows growth and progression in his character from being such a nasty person. You know what I'm saying? So I just had to bring that up because we're going to give him the full workup. We're not going to just talk about, oh, they're nasty, they're mean. I think that he was growing in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, they're more interesting characters when you look at both facets of it, from like the good stuff they do as well as the bad stuff they do, rather than just trying to characterize them as one or the other. It makes them more
Except for these
interesting
two
characters.
bozos.
Well, yeah, it's harder to do with them.
Now, Callie, you are very quiet over there. First of all, before we finish up about with these three C's, out of the three brothers, who is your favorite out of the three C's? Which I know it's like picking your poison here.
Oof. Out of the three C's? I only had to pick. Oh, geez. I really wanted to like Caligorm. His whole connection with the animals and stuff is really beautiful, and it makes it seem like he should be a better person than he is. But
Yeah,
I
it's proper
mean,
subverts that trope, doesn't it? With the friends with the animals is usually a really good guy.
yeah, and being able to talk to them, like you don't in typical
That's Disney
fantasy lore,
princess
you
level
don't do that
stuff.
by brute force. You do that by cooperation and by learning and understanding and stuff. So it just seems incongruous with his personality, the things that he does and the decisions he makes to who he sort of started as or who he is, um, as a person. But as we know, I don't want to jump ahead too much and spoil things, but we know that he ends up losing the love of his animal. So I mean, you really can't. It's pretty hard to
That's where
redeem
we're going
yourself
next.
after that, right? So
yeah, pretty hard. And Lee, out of the three C's.
Could I say as a character rather than as a person? Because that's
Oh
easier.
yeah, this is not. I like one of them, but it's because they're an asshole. But I like the way they be an asshole certain times. Like, so when I say mine, it's because the way they do certain things, but not because they're doing bad things. But it's like I like this certain time.
Yeah. I would go with Caligorm, just because I think because of those things, like because of the whole animal thing, the animal loving thing, it makes it feel like he was a good person once. Like we probably
I think he was.
mostly
I
were
don't think
all good
Orme would have gave
people.
him Huon if he wasn't.
No,
right.
exactly. And then I think it's like the experiences, the stuff with the oath and kinslaying and everything they've had to do, that it kind of shows how much they have changed as people, that they've become these twisted, nastier versions of who they were. And yeah, I think the thing with obviously Caligorm and the animals makes that more evident than it does with the others.
My favorite is Corfin, and I know he's a big problem, but I love the way that Aol thought he was so bad and so mean and so tough. I'm gonna chase after my wife and my son, and I'm gonna die. But when he came into Corfin's land, he checked his attitude at the door because he knew danger. And he didn't talk crazy to Corfin because Corfin was not having it. And Corfin was, just like you said, was talking crazy to Aol. What are you doing in my lands, dark elf? Like, I know that's bad, but Aol is not a good guy. He's not
to be fair,
good. So when you
the
really
way Eol was called Dark Elf wasn't related to him being Morroquendi. It was because he liked living in the
because he liked
darkness
it.
with
There's a little
non-elmos.
bit of emo.
When Corfin's talking to him, it's basically like, "What are you doing here, weirdo? Because you like the dark. Like it's like you like the dark. You're weird. You're a weird guy.
Yeah,
like,
and
that's how they're
he
talking to
really
him,
wants
not
to
because
have him. Like,
yeah, he's like they all call him the Sindar call him Dark Elf. Like he's
he's like,
he's
by law
the
at this
Dark Elf.
time I cannot slay you, but he really wants to. And I wonder if he's kind of like worked out what has gone on between him and
He's
Arda.
peeved about the thing with Arthel. Regardless of how anybody else felt about the three about the seven sons, their cousins they all loved each other very much. Like
Ardadel,
things happen after.
Ardadel and Caligorm and Corufin were particularly
They
really,
were
really good
very
friends.
close. A lot of them were very close. Some of them actually don't want to abandon their cousins, and this is why they end up coming to Beleriand in the first place. Um, so they're very close. It says the cousins are like brothers and sisters. So he's like, oh, what's up, kinsman? He's like, don't flaunt the title of don't flaunt that title. You didn't ask us to wed Arathel, nothing. Like, what are you talking about? And he's like, and he tells him, like, even though you say you're going after them, like, beware, because from what I'm feeling, like, if you go after them, you're not gonna come back. And he tells him that, like, it might have been to be nasty, but he didn't have to give him that warning. So AO had all opportunity to go back, and he's telling you, like, some elves have foresight. And I think Corfin was like, yo, it's not looking good for you. Clearly you're chasing after them. They don't want to be chased after. And he's like, yo, either you deceive. Yo, he was talking so crazy to Corfin, AO. He was like, yo, he's like, it seems like you're trying to deceive me. Like, which one is it? Like, I love that spicy conversation.
I think that's the best thing Corufin ever did.
Yeah, I thought that was dope. And AO at the end tries to throw a zinger in there. He's like, I'll remember your kindness. You know what I'm saying? He's like, yeah, all right. You know what I'm saying? Like, all right. Yeah, okay.
If only Corufin had killed him then, though.
Yeah.
Like, that would have changed things.
It would have changed so much. But it is what it is.
It's also interesting, the reception he got from Corufin. It was so different from how Torgon received him. Like, Torgon was so welcoming and like,
so welcoming.
My kinsman and stuff.
And this is why Turgon is one of my favorite elves, is because he is consistent with how Fingolfin is. You talking crazy? All right, like hey, I'm gonna give you a chance. He let him rock out. He let him talk crazy, and then he was like, yo, listen, I'm giving you these options. Like, be careful how you talking to me, but you still have these options. Like, don't get beside yourself. Whereas, like, somebody else would make a rash anger decision where he doesn't do that. Fëanor pulled out the sword on.
I guess at that point he mustn't have realized that Ardavel had been running away from Eol. Like, I feel Corufin had picked up on that, and that's why he was like speaking to Eol as he was. But Torgon hasn't made the connection yet.
Well, they live right next to each other, so I think it had to have been some whisperings going on. Like the pass of Aglon is literally right near to Nan Elmoth. So I'm sure there was, because he's not living in Nan Elmoth by himself. There's people of his house, so he has elves that live in Nan Elmoth with people of his house. Like, he is a lord himself. He is a very high lord of the North. He's close kin to Thingol, so he's a lord. He has a whole group of people that live there with him, and I'm sure there was chatter back and forth of, hey,
like Eol's servants spoke to Corufin's servants and stuff like that.
I'm sure of it, because they knew they were married. He knew that they were married. So how would he know that? Somebody had to been chatter back and forth. So so we have some redeeming qualities in that sense, I think. But now we're gonna get to the irredeemable stuff.
Yeah, the fun stuff.
So we as is told in the Silmarillion. I love when Martin Shaw talks like that. As is told in the Silmarillion. Baron goes and he goes with Finrod, and Finrod fights Sauron, and they get imprisoned in Tol and Garroth, and
what happens?
Luthien comes with Huan. Now Huan, he falls in love with Luthien, but not in a perverted way. I love you. You're a good person. And it says that Huan had felt that evil had come to Nargothrond even before he turns on Caligorm, and he says this is why he helps Luthien, because he felt like, yo, these dudes something's not right with them.
I mean, what we were saying about how Caligorm changed over time, Huan would have seen that firsthand happening, like how Caligorm was when he was first given to him, and they were best friends. To the Caligorm that he's with now, he would see the difference in that. And then so if we talk about the Luthien thing.
Yes, so that's exactly where I was heading. So Baron and Finrod are in the dungeons of Tolangaroth, right? And Luthien hears about this from her mother, and she's like, "Oh, let me go." She gets imprisoned by her father. She escapes. She has a dark fold that made out of her hair that's laden with a spell of sleep, and she got her shit. You know what I'm saying? Now, Celegorm and Corfin actually they are in Nargothrond at this time, and they hear about when the wolves had came out when Sauron was had captured Finrod and them, and they're just wandering in the wild because he sent out wolves to see what's going on with the orc raid that he saw that was weird, that never checked in. And that's Finrod and them disguising themselves before they got captured. So now they're out on the hunt, like what's going on with all these wolves in the land, and which falls into Celegorm being a great hunter, and it's awesome how Tolkien just ties everything back in. And sure enough, Luthien had escaped, and she's like running, trying to get to Tolangaroth, and she runs into them, and he's smitten.
Yeah.
He's
They
smitten.
come. So Celegorm and Corfin come across Luthien in the woods, and yeah, he's smitten. I mean, I don't think anyone can look at Luthien and not be wowed by how beautiful he actually is. But different levels of it.
There's like
But
respectful
they
levels
then
of
then
thinking
lie
someone's
to.
beautiful. Yeah.
Well, he's like smitten, and then his immediate thought is to, hey, I'm going to marry her, and I'm going to strengthen my position amongst the elves, the prince of the elves.
Yeah,
And if I marry the princess of Doria, then the seven sons will be, there's nobody that can't tell us shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, basically,
yeah,
he's doing it. He's like, yo, like, they wanted Finrod to die. Like, they weren't going to try to help him. It's just, they were kind of like bozos. They
yeah.
was real jerks. Like,
They lie to Luthien and are like, yeah, come with us and we'll help you. So she gets on the horse with them, and they take her to Nargothrond. And then she realizes they're not going to help her. She is prisoner with
mhm.
them. And Celegorm and Corfin then come up with this plot for Celegorm to marry Luthien, because then Thingol will have no choice but to like help them and side with them. And that there'll be this kind of like political alliance, like as a marriage thing. But we have the issue with elven marriages and what that actually means.
And they send messages to Thingle, like holding, like, yo, yeah, we got your daughter, kid. Like, like it's crazy. Like Thingle is like, yo, Thingle doesn't get them till a little later. It's weird because they
mm,
send messages out, but she ends up escaping with Huan. Huan just
yeah,
feels like
this
it's the
is
right
where
thing to do.
Huan is like, yeah, this is wrong. This is
This
not
is wrong.
good.
This doesn't feel right.
I'm not going to stay here while he forcibly marries her and everything that entails. Um, so yeah, Huan helps her escape because he is a good boy, and thankfully she gets away from them for now. She gets
For
away
now.
from them for now.
She goes and she
But
does her thing. Like she does her thing. Huan and Luthien go to Tol and Garoth, and we know that whole story. This is a story about the three C's, so we're not going to get into it. Let's just say they put hands on the wolves of Tol and Garoth, and then they fight with Sauron. They jump them. They jump them. They beat them, but it's bullshit. Whatever. Anyway, moving right along. So now they got Baron. Unfortunately, Finrod is no more. He passes by saving Baron's life, fighting the werewolf. Shout out to Finrod. He is one of the goats. He is one of the greatest elves of all
Mm.
time, and probably the most noble and
Finrod.
respectful elf there is. He is that guy. He is the beloved.
And he
Shout out
walks
to
with
him.
his father in
And
Eldamar.
Underbar. Yes.
Whoa.
So now they are on their way fleeing. The elves in Nargothrond, and this is Ordref, you're such a bum. You're such a bozo.
He did
They
the right
hear
thing in the end.
in the end,
Yeah.
oh yeah, they hear, oh, a girl, a girl rescued, a girl rescued Finrod and Baron, but Finrod's dead. But yo, a maiden dared to do what you guys was telling us it's impossible and you scaring us like, get out of here. And they oust. Oh, you was trying this whole time. You wanted Finrod to die. Duh, ding, 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 Ordreth, you
Yeah,
bum. That's your brother in the
Finrod's
Silmarillion. You are such a bozo.
Finrod's death kind of like
Shakes them,
clears a bit.
clears their
Yeah, like
mind.
brings them back to realizing what's happened. And Orodreth then like takes charge again properly, and he exiles Curufin and Celegorm. And then tellingly at this point, this is when Curufin's own son disavows them because of their actions. So
Yeah. Like,
Celebrimbor
nah, I'm good.
remains in Norgothrond and is like, you are not my father anymore after this stuff that you've done. So Celegorm and Curufin go, Celebrimbor stays, and like that is the end of their relationship. Pretty much, he
Repudiates the
disavows them.
deeds of his father.
That's it. Repudiates
Yes.
the deeds.
So yeah, so they repudiate. So Celebrimbor is like, I ain't jacking y'all. So they flee, and now they have to get back to their brothers in the east. So they're like, damn, which way do we go? Like, okay, it's gonna take mad long if we go around this way. The fastest and way is through past Dimbar and on the marches of Doriath and go to Anglon where they're from. And that's it's a little more dangerous because it's near Nandangotha, but they decide to traverse it. At the same time, Baron and Luthien are heading through that way. They're trying to head back to Doria. And boom, guess who walks into each other? And these scumbags are like sore losers. Sore losers, bro. Who does this? Celegorm and Curufin are scumbags. They ride up, they see Luthien, and they grab
Yeah.
Luthien.
Well, firstly, Curufin's try. I think it's Curufin tried to ride Beren down.
Yeah.
Celegorm rides past Luthien and scoops up onto his horse. And then we get capitalized L, the leap of Beren.
The leap of Beren.
I don't know why that always amuses me so much. The renowned leap of Beren.
I think it's because like humans are not like, he must have did some gymnastics.
Humans are not leapers.
Like this thing was like renowned amongst elves and men. Like this shit was
one hell of a leap.
It's a hell of a leap. And he throttles Curufin. He throttles.
He like ends up on the ground strangling Curufin. And Celegorm's then sneaking up, and he's gonna use his spear on Beren from behind. But Huan intervenes, I think. And then Luthien convinces Beren not to kill Curufin. So they stand up and they let them go, and
he takes his knife though. He takes his give me your knife.
He takes his knife and he takes his weapons and his armor and stuff.
Yeah, so this is where one of the things that's, I apologize. This is one of the things that's important. Curufin has a knife from one of the dwarves, the greatest dwarven smith. He has a knife called Angrist, made by Telkar of Nagra. It's said to cleave iron like green wood. So Baron instinctively, I don't know why, he sees the knife. He's like, oh shit.
I think it makes sense that he takes his weapons because Curufin's just tried to kill him.
Yes,
like, I'm gonna
do the same.
Weapons.
I'm gonna take this.
Give me your good stuff.
And one of them is Angrist. Curufin gets on the horse with Celegorm, and they start riding away. And Beren's just like, yeah, they're gone, whatever, not paying attention anymore, turns his back on them. Curufin takes Celegorm's bow, turns around, and fires 2 arrows at Luthien. He fires at Luthien. The first one, Huan jumps in front of and manages to snatch out the air with his mouth and gets rid of it. But the second one, Beren jumps in front of and takes the arrow. But yeah, Curufin was trying to kill Luthien.
And at that moment, Huan forsakes Celegorm and Curufin. He turns on them and he tries to off them, but they ride off. And he could catch them because it says that nothing could escape Huan. But I think he's more worried about Beren and he comes back. I think he stops chasing them. He just wants to run them off and he comes back. Because let's be clear, it says that nothing can escape Huan if he's after them. but clearly he just wants to just run them off so they don't try no more
Get
shit.
them away. Yeah.
He comes back
Why
and
do
concerned about.
why do you think that he shot at Luthien instead of Beren? Beren was the one who was just throttling him
I
and
think
almost killing him.
I think I'm gonna have to curse here. It's like, fuck you. You're not gonna marry her. I can't have her.
I can't
Nobody's
have
gonna
her.
have
No
her.
one can have her.
Nobody's
Yeah.
gonna have her type.
And just
That
like
was
very.
Celegorm who wanted to marry her. And it was
Yeah.
Thorfinn who
Oh,
shot
but
her.
yeah, he's just a jerk. He's like, yo,
Yeah.
That
yeah,
idea,
he's just there.
though,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think,
This is just pure.
like this might hurt
Oh
you
no, it's
more
all
than
for
hurting you.
speculation. It's just
Yeah.
it's just something that I've been
And
curious
to
about.
Thingol as well. And like,
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
like,
I think that was a big thing. It was
Nargothrond,
like a fuck you
Thingol,
to
all of you
Thingol.
guys. All right, all you guys. You want the
Mm.
Silmaril? Yeah, now
Yeah.
what you're going after the Silmaril because you got to give it for her. She's gonna be dead.
I read another thing that somebody said that what they thought about it was that it was a pride thing with him as well. That he's only alive because Luthien told Beren to stop,
Mm.
and like that wounded his pride, sort of
That
thing. Like there's all
that sounds
sorts of
on board too. That
reasons.
sounds
Yeah, it's
all of these
it's in
things.
character, isn't it?
It could be all of these things at once too. And that's the cool
Yeah.
thing.
It could be.
They
You're
have a lot
right.
of
Yeah.
problems, bro. And like the funny thing is, we're telling you this, and we just told you this whole story. We're not done. Like they still cause problems. So the coolest thing to me about the whole first age is this situation that happens with Celegorm and Corfin has a domino effect, and whole civilizations die because of it, because there's no help that comes. Now that goes on. Thingol is like, he's mad. He literally is about to go to war with the Seven Sons, even though he probably can't win that war. He doesn't think he has the strength to win that war. But he's like, yo, fuck it, they got my daughter. And he finds out, oh, she's free. Finally finds out later, just before it goes down. So now time goes on. They actually end up getting the Silmaril, all that stuff. It's irrelevant at this point.
Using the
But
knife, using
the knife, he
Thorfinn's
gets
knife.
the Silmaril.
Mm.
So now it's time for the fifth battle. Mithros, who isn't part of this
Oh, he must
situation.
have been so angry.
He's not part of this. Him and Maglor and Amrod and Amherst aren't part of this shit. They didn't do none of this. But he's like, it says his heart was uplifted, and he's like, yo, let's get Morgoth. Like, yo, he was actually like, yo, Beren and Luthien got the Silmaril from him. It's possible to beat him. Let's do it. And in good faith, he tries to gather as much strength as he can. And it is literally to no avail. He gets all the strength of like the major elf kingdoms, but the two that like really would help Sindar are vast. They're the most numerous in Beleriand. If he gets to Sindar, they have a chance. Nope.
Yeah.
Your brothers try to kidnap my daughter, and fuck you. I'm not sending nobody. The only reason even two of them came is because it's like, nah, this is like the war to end all wars. We got to be a part of this. His two main captains, Mablong and Belay, and they refuse not to be a part of it. But fuck you, Seven Sons. We want to go with Fingon, the king. We're gonna go with him. Same thing in Nargothrond. Ordreth refuses. The one thing you do right, he refuses, and you should have still kind of sent people, whatever. He refuses to send because of what they did to
He
Fingon.
should have, but you understand why they
But
did.
I understand. Absolutely. So I back Ordreth's decision here. And I'm like, I understand. He refuses to help them. They shot themselves in their foot, and you screwed your brothers over and the rest of the Noldor and the rest of Beleriand over.
I'd love to know. I'd love to know what Mithros had to say to Celegorm and Corufin
He probably
because of all this.
out.
Yeah.
Big brother talking would be
Yeah.
Yeah. So
because his attempt, the union of Mithros, fails because of Celegorm and Corufin. Because they alienate Doriath and Nargothrond.
They still almost like were okay. Like, but the with the men betraying them, like if the Sindar were there, they would have been able to still like figure it out. Like,
yeah, like
they didn't have
they would have
enough
had more of a
force
chance because they've had the extra numbers to counter the men turning on them.
that. And at the end, it wouldn't have just been Gondolin by itself, and Fingon probably wouldn't have got killed. And it's so much, it's conjecture, but it's like it's valid criticisms, valid thought process.
Yeah.
After the
all because of the actions of Celegorm and
these
Corufin.
two dummies, like, oh my god, it's crazy. So when you think that's it, and you think it can't get any worse, nope, it gets worse. It gets worse. Hithlum's destroyed. The Noldor are literally on the run. They're out of here. The Seven Sons lost their land. They're like a scattered people. It's bad in Beleriand right now,
The
right?
North is pretty much lost except for Gondolin.
Yeah. No,
Mm.
no, Gothrons end up getting destroyed because Ordref's an idiot. We got all this drama with Turin and all this stuff that happens, and then it falls into Doriath. Doriath ends up getting the Silmaril and the Nauglamir. Now, uh,
Mm.
I have to say no more. They have the Silmaril. The Sons of Fëanor send a message like, "Yo, my guy, give us the Silmaril, please."
By the
Like,
way, I think it's important to point out that the king of Doriath at this point is Beren and Lúthien's son, Dior. Oh, no, it's
yeah,
Thingol first. It's still Thingol at this point. Sorry.
it's Thingol at
Yeah,
first, and so
yeah.
Thingol's at first, and they send them messages threatening, yo, yo, like not threatening, cool, and then he says, nah, he's like, nah, you, because I'm not doing it because Baron and Luthien went too much, and Mythros doesn't even trip. Mythros isn't tripping. It's Celegorm and Corfin. They openly threaten the slay Thingol. Like, yo, chill, my guys, relax, my guys. You already caused all these problems. Like, chill. Thingol ends up dying to the dwarves. A whole bunch of nonsense happens with them. A war, da da da. Baron and Luthien end up with the Silmaril. Luthien has the Silmaril now, and these chumps
None of them will go after it while
don't
she has
do
it though.
nothing. You're suckers. You're really scared. You're not like that in real life because you won't touch Luthien. You're scared of her, which is so dope for
With good
Luthien.
reason.
Absolutely good reason, but keep that same energy, as we say. Keep that
Yeah.
same energy, bro. Like you run up on the Yonway, you about to run up on the Yonway, but you won't run up on Luthien. I think that's a little extra. But Luthien is so powerful and so dope and so majestic, they don't touch her. They're like, whatever. But then when her son gets the Silmaril, after their passing, Baron and Luthien's passing, then they start feeling themselves and they descend upon Doriath.
The oath
And
is
there is
stirring.
the second kinslaying. And what
And
happens to the three C's, Lee?
I find it extra sad that after Celegorm had his plan to try and forcibly marry Luthien, he ends up then killing and dying by the hand of her son. So it is Celegorm who kills Dior, the son of Beren and Luthien, but Dior in turn kills Celegorm. The other two Cs also meet their end in Doriath. Caranthir and Curufin are also killed in Doriath. There's only the four of them that survive. All the three Cs die. Hello. So Dior is killed. His wife Nimloth is killed. Then there's the two sons of Nimloth and Dior, Eluraid and Elurine, who are about 5 years old. They're little babies, and I people dispute whether Celegorm can be blamed for this because it's servants of Celegorm, but like, who's giving the orders to them? They take Eluraid and Elurine out into the forest and abandon them, and they're never seen again. Presumably, they die. Maedhros spends ages desperately searching for them, but he doesn't find them. And just thinking of those two little boys makes me so sad. Like Celegorm, yeah, the three C's die there, and Elwing, Theo's daughter, manages to. She's only 3. She manages to escape with the Silmaril.
The Havens.
But yeah, even whether Celegorm gave the order or not, it was specifically servants of Celegorm. So like,
So we get a
he's
little
got
hint.
blame in that either
Got some
way.
blame in it. And
Yeah.
I think just like Lee was saying before, their actions like echo in history so much. And she said, I wonder what Mythros said to them. Like, I wonder, he must have been so mad at them. Well, check this out. Ianwe ends up with the Silmarils after the War of Wrath. And he literally tells them, you're forfeit the right for the Silmarils specifically for your slaying of Dior. Celadon slayed Dior. The Three Seas is the ones that did that.
Oh.
And the reason that is, and I was explaining this before, they're part Maya. So you slayed Dior is part Maya. He's of threefold race. So you like basically like slaying someone related to the Ainur. And that is like of all the things. There are three kinslayings. But they say especially for the slaying of Dior. And it's for that reason, I believe, because of his Maya blood. And I think that is like they just do things that are irreprehensible and they can't be taken aback. And they kind of shoot themselves and their brothers in the foot by doing these things. Like, and I know that Mythros had to be like, God damn it. Like we probably would have been all right. They probably would have just understood and just gave us the Silmarils. Now we got to sneak and try to get these shits. And they end up giving it to them anyway. But it's like after they really was about to really go all out, they killed some of the servants of Yahweh. Like they take the Silmaril. Like it's crazy the stuff they're willing, the heights they're willing to go. But at this point, they're kind of trapped. But I feel like Celadon and
They
Coruffin's
didn't have a
decisions
choice.
are like a little extra. Like their ways are like there's different roads they could have went down. Whereas I feel like the end, like Mythros and Maglor were like, no, they're not going to give it to us. Like, we kind of just got to just do it. Like, like they're really trapped, kind of, as opposed to, you could have went about this a little different. Like, you could have said, let's try another way with the Luthien thing and let's not do this. And we could still get the Silmaril. Like, none of those things had to be done that way. And they're just sick, gross individuals, man. But that's the lore of Celadon McCorfin and Caranthir. Caranthir being the least assholish out of the three, but with the biggest mouth.
At least in actual actions, anyway.
Actual actions, yeah. Celadon is probably Celadon and Corfin are probably I don't know who's more evil. Corfin is
I don't know.
It's a toss up with them.
Yeah.
But so that was the story of the seven sons of Fëanor. Like I said, Amrod and Amros, they don't do anything nearly enough. They end up dying at the Havens at the third kinslaying, and it's like that's what you get for being part of the bullshit. You should have if you thought it was wrong, you should have said something. But they were being brothers, and they followed behind their brothers.
They couldn't though. They were all bound by the oath.
They're bound by the oath.
Not done it.
I'm just being me. You know, I'm telling how I feel. But it's a very interesting story. Talk about villains with different levels,
dimensions. Yeah,
they have dimensions. They have levels. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like you can see even in them, like, yo, that's dope that Orme would give them the Huan, and Huan didn't forsake them for a long time. Even when they did bad shit, Huan was still rocking with them. He was like, yo, I got it. They're my masters. Like, I gotta, nah, you know what I'm saying? And then Caranthir doing some cool shit, like, yo, nah, like you guys can live here. I really fuck with that y'all did that. Like, it's cool, but it's some things is just like, damn, you messed the whole world up with your actions. It's crazy. Oof. Craziness.
Yeah. So usually at the end of episodes, I know this is your part, KnewBetta, but I'm getting ahead of you a little bit, but I feel like I know where we're going with this, is we usually ask the guests to which one they would marry and which one they would protect them, right? And which one they would fight. Is that what you do? Is that's how it goes, KnewBetta?
That's how it goes.
That's how it goes. All right.
With the 3 Cs.
I think that's exactly where I'm going.
Yeah, let's put a little spin on this boat.
Oh,
I see where you go.
Wow, Lee, you choices. Wow.
No. Yeah, who would you marry? Who would you have protect you, and who would you fight?
Protect Celadon.
Okay.
Oh, this is hard. Can I do it like back in Valinor before they were banned?
Nah.
Oh man. I can't marry Corufin because he's already married, so
oh, cut it out.
I'm trying to find any loophole here.
Any loophole.
Right, okay. Marry Celadon. Protect Coranthier fight Curufin.
Fight Corfin. All right.
Okay.
All right.
I'm
Okay.
basically saying marry Kelagorn because animals.
Yeah, right.
Like,
Maybe
that's
there's
the
like
If
deciding
maybe
anything,
there's
you're gonna have a
nickname.
household full of pets. That
Yeah.
is awesome. Lee, your expertise is always so welcome and so refreshing and so beloved. Thank you so much for all you do in the Lord of the Rings community. Thank you for being you. Thank you for your lovely accent. Thank you for your cosplays. Thank you for your vast knowledge. Your elven knowledge and lore is pristine. It's amazing. It's dope. I look forward to many more meetings with you, podcast with you, just day-to-day conversation with you is always a highlight. Thank you so much for being on Voices of Arda, and
Thank you for having me. It's been
we
brilliant.
appreciate you. So, but one more time before you go, let everybody know where you can be found.
I am Silmarilleanne on TikTok. That's the main place you can find me for talking stuff. Cosplay stuff is Celestial_Wanderer on Instagram.
Perfect. And I'll
Right.
put her links in the YouTube, like where you put the description for the video, so you can visit her there.
Kali, do you got any wisdom for us before we skedaddle?
I will bring us back to 5 self-care tips for the holidays. So number 1 is it's important to find quiet time. Everything can be very overwhelming. And if it's 3 minutes or 30 minutes, just find some time for yourself. Number 2, tap into the sense of play. Like, remember what made the holidays fun when you were a kid, like what you liked about it. So, like what I did this year was I got an advent calendar and I am loving it. Like, I like having the
Amazing.
chocolate behind the doors. That's amazing. And I that is very happy for me. And I think we should have one
Love
for
that.
all the years, all the months of the year. We should just have advent calendars all the time.
Agreed. I can get behind that.
Tip number 3 is to remember to care for your body. So that's things like getting enough hydration, so not just eggnog and alcohol, but also water and those good healthy things, and making sure you're getting enough sleep where you can. Tip number 4 is to make room for all types of emotions. So you'll have, the happiness and the joy, but sometimes there's stress, sometimes there's some sadness, and it's just good to leave room for that and to be able to deal with it as they come up. And number 5 is to let go of expectations. So everything won't always be like the movies, or everything won't always be perfect the way you planned it in your head, but it doesn't have to ruin the whole holidays. Did you have a bad interaction or did you have a whole bad day? If it's just a sort of a bad thing, your pudding came out a little crispy, or the turkey needed an hour more to cook, that's okay. That's all right. Just chill and enjoy the family and enjoy the time.
Enjoy it. Yep. Things usually typically work themselves out. So I hear you. Those are some wonderful tips. Cal, you always come up
They're
with that,
good. It's good advice.
good advice for us. You know what I'm saying? To help us get us through the days and the holidays and the years and the hardships of life. So thank you very much for all that you do. Always, I have to shower you with praise. Appreciate you so much. So guys, we did it. We are back, and I think we have a after this episode airs, we are going to put up our adoption episode that
Yes.
we also had a special guest there, Haley. So me, Callie, and Haley will share our experiences growing up, and also talk about the people in the Lord of the Rings who fall into that category as well. So that is a very special episode that's near and dear to our hearts. So look forward to that. And I know you guys are going to flood Lee's episode. Let her know how much her accent is weird and we hate. No, I'm just joking.
Wow.
Now make sure you check out these 2 episodes with Lee and see her expertise. But until then, we are signing off. Thank you so much. Signing out. Voices of Order. Talk to you guys soon. Peace.
Bye.